Welcome, everybody, to the brand new episode of Just a Little Salt. Got a very special episode. You might not recognize this man, but without this man right here, I probably wouldn't be here. This is my dad. Got a history in the fire service. I probably would have never gotten the fire service without him. So I'm very honored to have him on today. I think it'll be a great conversation. We might learn some new things about each other, might tell each other things we never told each other, like, I love you. I'm just kidding. He's told me that before. I'm just playing around. But without further ado, I'll let him introduce himself, tell him a little bit about himself, and we'll go from there.
My name's Chris Spalding, Salty's dad. I have got in the fire service in 1988, and long before several of you were even born. But Retired out in 2015, and currently I am working as an emergency manager for my local county.
All right. Well, starting off here, like he said, he's been doing it a while. What made you want to become a firefighter in the first place?
Your granny's accident. My mom was actually, I was a farm kid, grew up on a farm, dairy farm, and actually, Salty's grandmother kind of got him into doing what he's doing right now. She was a ball of joy, just a wonderful lady. But she had a farming accident years ago that to make a long story short, she had went into a silo, wound up getting her leg hung in an auger. Fire department came out. They rescued her. I was in school at the time, uh, in high school. The sheriff actually came and got me just witnessing the actions of the medics, the fire departments, but just witnessing the rescue and everything and the care that they gave her, I quickly realized that was something that I wanted to do. So the first thing I did was I went to try to find a volunteer fire department or some. Well, actually, the volunteer fire department that showed up there. I went there and tried to join. They actually would not let me join because they did not have junior firefighter programs or anything like that at that time. And if it wasn't for the fire chief actually seeing something in me, he contacted after everything with mom, and mom turned out, she was an amputee for the rest of her life. She was, but he basically went to my parents and he took full control of me while I was at the firehouse. He signed paperwork with the attorney, and he was pretty much my guardian when I was there at the firehouse. And if it wasn't for that gentleman doing that for me, I would have probably never gotten in there. I was a teenager, didn't know what I was wanting to do in my life, and it quickly made me realize this was something that I wanted to do for long term.
Yeah. It's just that's something that has always blown my mind is the cascade of life events that can just change the course of everything. I mean, if my grandmother wouldn't have gotten that accident, maybe you wouldn't have never got into it. You wouldn't have witnessed them do all that. I would not. I mean, it's just everything happens for a reason. Like he mentioned, I talk about my grandmother a lot in my book, a lot in my videos. Uh, she she was a huge factor in both mine and my father's humor. She like he said, she was an amputee, been through a lot in life, but she never let that get her down, and she always laughed about it. So we have her to thank for having that basic dark humor.
Absolutely.
So you got into it, fairly young. Do you remember like your first like serious type call you had, and you're like, oh shit, this is real life.
The bad thing is I really don't remember the first call or anything,
It's like
but
50 years ago. I
yeah,
understand.
absolutely. But I could probably say that. my heart was in the race. I was ready to go. My brain was probably still trying to find its shoes, and I was probably twirling like a squirrel. Because once you're young, you get on that truck, you hear the lights and sirens and everything else. I mean, it is what it is. And as a kid, going and doing that stuff, it was a lasting impact. And I quickly realized I wanted to do that as a career.
Yeah. So, up until the point I was born, you'd already been doing it, 4-ish years, I think. Uh,
Yes.
so you had probably already seen some decent traumatic stuff. The point when I was born, and I grew up. Obviously, I was a firehouse brat. I was around there the whole time. Talked about wanting to be a firefighter. Was there any point you were like, I don't want him to do this, or were you kind of just egging me on, like, heck, I'd like for you to follow in my footsteps?
You know, yeah, I mean, I was glad that you wanted to follow in the footsteps and get into that because, one thing I knew, and I'll say it to this day, best damn job there is out there. I mean, it truly is, and I can say that. When you first told me, I kind of revert back to Red in the '70s show. I thought dumbass because I knew the struggles that your mom and I made through the years. You know, working 5 jobs and trying to raise kids and juggle all that because we know the fire service. Public service doesn't pay much,
Hmm.
but the thing is, the rewards that you get out of it is very beneficial. And I knew that when you decided that you were going to do this, that you also, because with your drive and all, that you would go far in this service.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it doesn't pay much, and also people don't realize until they're up in it is the schedule you have to deal with. Um, we work long hours, we work weird hours, and sometimes when you have a family, that's hard to have that job and be around to see a lot of things that goes on in your kids' lives. But that's something I touched on in my book. For everybody watching out there, there's not an excuse. Like my dad said, he had 5 jobs, and I remember him still coming to sporting events, even if he was wearing the his fire uniform. He'd make it there, and it's hard. It's very, very hard, but you do the best you can, and your kids notice that. They truly do, because I noticed it when I was younger. Um, so that's just something that poured into me when I'm in the career, because now I got 3 kids and I'm dealing with the same thing. And it's just lessons like that, I think, that resonated with me the most. Getting to watch somebody like that in the field. Not everybody has that. They have to learn it the hard way. But that's just one of the big lessons I think you need to take away once you have a family and you're in this career. Because,
Absolutely.
all right, so uh, would you say did the fire how would you say the fire service shaped how you raised me? Like, what were some things that you might have picked up from working as a firefighter that shaped my childhood and how you raised a kid like me?
Good question. When I think back on it, your mom raised you and your sister. I was there for support. Simple as that. If it wasn't for her bringing you guys up there, when I couldn't get away and stuff like that, you know, I, pretty much my crew was an amazing crew, and I really loved you guys coming up there. And not only it was just us four, it was all my guys added
Oh
into
yeah.
it. We had a huge family, and I think that resonates with kids. Kids of firefighters when they get to come to the firehouse and hang out with everybody because hell, we're all a bunch of kids. Simple as
Oh yeah.
that. We play pranks, we do all kinds of stuff, and sometimes in life we just have to not be that serious and know
Hmm.
when to be serious. So I think those are the things that kind of took away, and hopefully you took away to actually benefit you in your career and your family life.
Yeah, I mean, my kids love to come up to the fire station and shoot Nerf guns with the guys, and I agree 100%. You have to learn to differentiate because on our job we have to be serious because we have serious type of runs and events going on, but then you also at the same time have to be fun because that's
Yep.
good for your mental well-being at the same time. And I mean, you also touched on mom being a key component because she brought us to the firehouse, and she took care of us while you were gone, and that's key too. I couldn't do anything without my wife. The spouse's job of a first responder is never done. They have to
Absolutely.
be that support system, and they hold the weight of the world on their shoulders too. So they do so much, and I'm thankful for that. Um, so you started. I'm not good at math. How many years ago? 30 something years ago.
Yeah, 88. So yeah, I'm not.
37.
You got that from me. Yeah, 37.
37, I think. Yeah. If you had to go back in time uh, to rookie Chris, what advice would you give yourself?
Uh, Go back in time, rookie. I'm thinking about going back like very first day coming in to the firehouse, realizing that firefighters can blow up a bathroom. Uh, that's where I first took away my first lesson in BSI, cleaning bathrooms and stuff like that. The one thing I guess, if I could go back now, knowing what I know now through the years, I would have been unstoppable. Simple as that. You know, it just that's a really good question. I don't know what I would tell myself or do. I think that the experience is the experience. It's actually going and living your life and doing the job. I wouldn't have changed anything for the world. I went. Uh, I got promoted fairly quickly. Uh, I spent the last, well, not the last, but I spent 12 years of my career as a captain, and then my last 5 years as assistant fire chief. So um, my drive was always there. Um, I don't regret anything. I think we did a good job throughout the whole thing. Um, yeah, uh, you know, just I guess I would say just be safe and come home to your family at the end of the day.
Yep.
The people that truly love you, come
Yeah.
home to them.
Yeah, it's definitely important. And, I'm almost halfway through my career. I can't imagine looking back, you've retired now and looking back at that whole wide span of career, at everything you've learned and picked up on throughout the years. Um, when you look back at that whole career, do you think the job changed who you are as a person, or are you still that same kid, before that farming accident?
Now, job did change me some. I'm a kid. When I was a kid, like I said, I had no drive and didn't know what I was wanting to do. Um, you know, I I wasn't the best kid going by no means. I think it gave me discipline. It gave me a reason, uh, not a reason to live, but a reason to try to do good things and to move forward. Um, you know, um, yeah, I'm rambling right now,
Oh, yeah, you're right.
but I think I got off the topic. What was the question again? It's the age thing, guy.
No, no, I get it. You're old. It's fine. Do you think the job has changed who
Oh
you
yeah,
are as a
oh yeah,
person?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It affected my memory.
Yes.
Um, yeah, it has made me realize. I've still got compassion, but I've also I don't have tolerance for stupid people, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
No, no.
We go out on those everyday calls, those normal things. We get to know these people. Some of them we love, some of them we hate. And that drives the compassion, I think. But overall, I think I'm a better person today than I was then because I think more of people than I do of myself.
Yeah. No, and you get a look into the world, going in these people's houses, and that wouldn't normally get, in a different job. You see how they live, and sometimes you walk in and see these kids that are mistreated and living in horrible conditions, and it starts to wear on you. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's but so talking about the career once more, what's one moment that still sticks with you today? Funny, sad, motivational, anything. Just
Yeah.
one key moment.
Wow. Um, you know, the pranks. I can't give just one. That's the thing. All of them stays with you for different reasons. The pranks, the camaraderie that you have, the meals that you share. Uh, I was just talking about this the other day. One of the things and one of the honors that we had throughout our career was we were selected to host five fire officers from Barbados to come over, and we actually conducted their fire officer training and their hazardous materials training for them. And they spent it was probably about 6 months with us, and they cooked for us. They rode out with us, just seeing that different side of the world. They were totally different people. Somebody that you probably would never, ever, ever run across again unless they come over here, we go over there. But we were the same.
Oh
We
yeah.
laughed, we cut up, we played jokes. It was absolutely the same thing. So that, besides the bad parts, the demons and all that stuff, that was probably one of the things that with me is because, we got to see, even though we had a lot of difference and a lot of uh, land between us and water between us, they were the same. Simple as that.
Oh yeah. I was young when that happened, and I still remember that. And they were just. It's like they'd been there forever. They were cutting up with y'all, and
Yep,
everybody was having a good time, and it's just crazy. That's the one thing that I love about this social media thing is just the people from across the world that'll reach out to me, and I'll talk with them, and we all truly have the same experiences, and pretty
absolutely.
much the same personalities because we all work the same job at the end of the day.
Yep.
All right, we'll go to a little bit of lighthearted stuff now. Looking back, what's the funniest call you've ever ran?
um, there's probably two that I'm thinking of right off the bat, but one was thermal imaging cameras had just came out, and it was the great big Bullard one, the big huge beast, the red one, and they had just came out, and we were proud. We got our first one put on our truck, and we went and we did the training on it. We put it in service, and it was a few days later we got a call out of a odor of smoke in a house, and so we rolled up, and I went and met the homeowner, and I hollered at one of my guys. I said, "Grab a attic ladder, grab the tick," and we went in. There was a slight haze. There was nothing really bad. And so we checked everything around. I told them grab an attic ladder and grab the tick. I wanted them to go up and check the attic for me. And so, it was nothing hazardous. The homeowner was walking around with me, and, we were just basically going through the motions to check things out. And so this firefighter, great firefighter, uh, it was just sometimes you had to point them in the right direction. Well, we got the attic ladder set up. I told him to go up in the attic and actually take a look around with the tick. So he climbed the ladder, went up about waist high into the attic. He's still on the ladder, and he's scanning up in the attic space. Well, myself and the owner, we're standing down at the edge of the ladder, and another firefighter, and he looks down. He says, "Cap," said, "I don't see anything up here." Well, I turned around and I looked, and I immediately looked at the other firefighter. I told the first one, I said, "Go on up in the attic a little bit more." And I told the second one, I said, "Hey, I need you to go up there, grab the tick, see what you could see." Well, he looked right at me and was like, "Why the hell are you sending me up there?"
Yeah.
And so I go. He goes up there, he comes down, and everything's clear. We go back to the station. We get back there, and the second firefighter comes up to me. He's like, "Man," he said, "why'd you send me up there?" I said, "He was up there. He done cleared it and everything." He said, "Why did you send him up or send me up there?" I said, "Well, I was trying to save face with the fire department and us, and not make us look like a bunch of dumbasses." He said, "Well, what was going on?" I said, "Well, when I looked up there, he had it turned around, was actually looking in the lens and not the screen. So, I didn't want to sit there and be the guy down there and say, 'Hey, dumbass, turn it around. You're looking at the wrong end.' So I just went on and sent him up there.
Eh,
Uh,
That's a
yeah,
good leader. I mean,
yeah,
not calling out, stupidity in front of all the guys. I love it.
absolutely, absolutely. One more quick one, just
Uh
I've
huh.
got to say it is we started making medical calls, and I had this old, uh, for lack of a better term, salty firefighter. He had been around since the late '70s, early '80s, and he did not want to make medical calls whatsoever. And we rolled out on a sick person. It was a homeless guy, a sick person. We rolled out in a squad. We weren't in an ambulance. We backed them up, and we got there and got out, went down there. Guy was there. He was sick. We put him on the stretcher. We lifted him up. As soon as we lifted him up, the guy just turned off the side of the stretcher and puked down this old firefighter's side of his shirt and his legs and everything else. And he just stopped in his tracks what he was doing, and he took his gloved hand and just scraped the puke off of his pants and slung it across the field. And then all of a sudden, he just turned around. He looked at the guy and said, "I hope you die, you son of a bitch." And he turns around, walks away, goes back up to the squad, sits in it, and waits for me. Long story short, basically, the guy survived. Everything was good. And those pants pretty much didn't survive. As soon as we got back, he tossed them. They were gone. And he never made any medical calls with us again. He refused it. So,
Well, I bet he never had to go to an HR meeting or anything over that either.
and no,
Different world back
no,
then. Yeah, different
yeah,
world back
different world.
then. So you're a pretty good cook. So it might not necessarily be you, but what's the worst meal you have ever had at the station? And you don't have to say who cooked it, but you can if you want to.
Oh, I'll definitely say it's probably one of the ones that your mom brought up to us.
That don't count. We know.
Fish sticks. Um, but no, honestly, I was thinking about this and everything, and you know, probably I can't think of a really bad meal throughout the years. Of course, we had meals on the go. We had cold meals. We had hot meals. Depending on the day and what we were doing and how we were running. But I will say it goes back to my Barbados buddies.
Hmm.
When they came over, man, they cooked like crazy. They had some fabulous meals, and those are the most memorable ones that we
Yeah.
had. But, any one of them were, in my opinion, as long as we could sit around that table and
Hmm.
enjoy each other's company and cut up and laugh and play cards and do things like that in the downtime. That was the best ever. So, you really didn't sweat the little stuff on the bad meals. We gave people crap about it, but that was about it.
So, have you ever had raw chicken served to you?
Actually, it's funny. I did. Uh, I had a good buddy of mine, and this wasn't at the firehouse, but I had a buddy of mine that actually, we had cooked some chicken, had everybody over. I won't tell you who cooked it, but uh, her first name starts with mom. And well, they all come over and they bit into it, and it was raw chicken. And the funny thing was, the Marine that had just gotten back, he sat there, he looked at it a couple times. It was raw, it was horrible. He looked at it a couple times and said, "Oh hell," and wound up eating it. So he's still going. He's a cop, a
Yeah.
retired cop, but yeah, I have.
Hmm.
So have you?
Oh, plenty of times. Plenty of
Yeah.
times.
Okay. All right.
Never by my mom though. I mean, she served me other things like pancakes that bent my fork. But moving on, I love you, mom. I love you. All right. So you mentioned pranks earlier. Uh, Starting off, tell me one good prank that you pulled, and then one good prank that got pulled on you.
All right. Well, one good prank that I pulled, and I would not ever, ever, ever recommend anybody doing this.
Disclaimer.
Uh, don't ever decide that you're going to make a bumper sticker that says "Cowboys' butts drive me nuts" and put it on the police chief's vehicle.
Ooh,
Yeah, that was not a good time. I still was able to retire out many
that's
years
good.
later, many
That's
years
good.
later. But yeah, the initial reaction was not good on that one. Um, and the one that was pulled on me, I'm just going to go in and say it. And I had this sergeant that worked uh, for me when I was captain. We became really, really good friends and all. And he was notorious for his gas. Uh, and he had an inverted butthole or something. I mean, something was really, really bad with him. But anyhow, the one that was played on me is, and he done this to me a few times. I started locking the door, but then they would pick the lock and everything. But I'd go into the bathroom, take a shower in the evenings, and I'd be in there, got the place all steamed up and hot, and cleaning real good. And next thing I do is I hear water, something dropping in water, and then the most ungodly smell coming through that bathroom. And he's went in there to take a crap right next to the stall that I'm in taking a shower. So they did things, or he did things like that on a regular basis. Of course, you know, uh, going in and sitting on the stall. I had a cop one time come in and took a cooler of water and dumped over the stall on me. But the worst one was probably the hot shower with the funk from his butthole
Yeah, yeah, I know
in the
who he's talking about.
yeah.
Y'all, nobody could compare to that butthole.
Yeah, yeah. You got the paper towel trick.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I'll tell you all this story. So the same individual. I was a 15-year-old kid. I just started on the fire department. We were sitting around the kitchen table, and I think I was eating like a tuna salad sandwich or something weird. And this man grabs a empty paper towel roll, yes, and walks behind me and farts into it with like cupping the end of it, and then he blew it into my face. It was like a dang poo bazooka, and I was gagging and throwing up in the dang trash can. I'll never forget that moment. So uh, that individual has a nickname, and you had a nickname. So what was your nickname at the department, and do you even remember how you earned it?
I remember how the guy or who the guy was that gave it to me. But why I got it, I don't know. My very first ever nickname in the fire service, and it thank God it didn't stick, but was shithead. And I'm glad it didn't stick. But we were working in the bay one day, and one of the guys he called me Spud. I don't know why. I you know he just called me Spud, and un- well, I'm not going to say unfortunately, but it stuck. And so, even to this day, many, many, many years later, a lot of people just know me by Spud. And, you know, they don't even know my first name. They just know me as Spud.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Sometimes people would call me Tater Tot, but
Yeah.
since I started my career department, I've had many nicknames, and I cannot repeat them on camera. So y'all are just going to have to use your imagination. But we're going to move on to the next segment. So we're going to talk about us, the old man and the salty paramedic. Me starting out, do you remember what advice you gave me before my first shift or wish you had given me at that time?
Honestly, I can't think of, as I've said, I'm old and my memory sucks. I can't think of any advice given. I'm sure there was something along the lines, but I believe you figured it all out. And, to this day, to you that's still in the service and all the other ones that's still in the service, the best advice that I could actually say is one, stay safe, stay educated, know what you're dealing with on a regular basis, and above all, stay humble with what you're doing. Love what you do. Um, you know, it's cliche to say, oh, it's a calling. It is a calling. It's not just a job. So you've got to love what you do, love your God, and above all else, love your family. And and your family side and everything else. The last three I named, you got pretty early in life, son. And but everything else, everybody across the board, stick with that type of advice, and I think you'll go far in life.
Yeah. So, talking about, uh, you know, me deciding to start this career, same as you, uh, did you ever think that we would have the same sense of humor?
Apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Simple as that. You've got my humor. Your sister's got my humor. I think hers is a little worse at times, but but overall, yeah. Sometimes I think you're a little crazier than me, but yeah,
That's
yeah,
fair.
yeah,
That's fair. And I talk about that all the time. You need to laugh in this job.
yeah,
The individuals that are stone faced the whole time, that they're on the job and never have any fun. I don't trust you. I don't trust you. You can't stay sane unless you laugh on this job.
yep, absolutely.
So, I've discussed. I've learned so many things from you over the years. I've been doing it since I was 15. 18 years. You've been doing it twice as long, and I had the opportunity to shadow you. When I was a junior firefighter and just growing up in general, how you conducted yourself around the firehouse and our home and everything else. Uh, so I learned, a multitude of things. Is there anything you can think of that you've learned from me just watching me over the years?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, Early on, we won't talk about those. No, uh, yeah. When I think about what I learned from you, I think about persistence, dedication, and desire. It can pretty much get you what you need. Um, you know, always had the thing of family and everything, which is, I think you grabbed a long time ago, and you figured out the importance of that. And but the persistence, dedication, and desire of seeing what you've created in such a short time with this, with the podcast, the silliness, the memes, and the books and all that. You're touching individuals in the right way. That's something I've learned, that with technology and everything else, yeah, you can reach a whole lot of folks and you can help a lot of folks. It's not just going and picking Miss Smith up off the floor or something. It's actually reaching out and helping folks long term.
Yeah, yeah, and that's something I'm so thankful to be doing, because that's what drew me to this job in the first place, and the cool sirens and everything else like that. But helping people. But now I can help people in a different aspect as well in my life, and I love it.
Yep.
So this last segment we're going to go into, I've titled "Lessons from the Old Man." We've talked about your career, everything you've been through, from funny pranks to fires and everything like that. So, what's something you would say that civilians never really understood about this job?
I really think that they don't understand the demons that we hold, the things that we've seen through the years. They get a glimpse off of TV shows, which we all know how they are, but not the real stuff, not the real crap that we deal with. Not just in the immediate, but years afterwards, and years after you've been off the job. I think they have no clue whatsoever,
Hmm.
uh, the issues that you could potentially have.
Yeah. Yes, and that's one thing I try to bring awareness to in my videos. I posted a video yesterday. Actually, it was actually just a picture of me staring off into space, and it was me trying to be humorous but also serious at the same time. And it was just some rock song playing, and the text said, "When you get home from shift and your wife asks, 'Do you have a good day?' and you saw something that altered your brain chemistry for life, on a medical call that same day." And it's the reality of it. You see some messed up stuff, and some things you talk about with your spouse and your family, coworkers, and some things you just don't. And it's up to you to figure out, what to talk about, what avenues to take to be able to address those demons. But it's a harsh reality, and it's my hopes that we can, as a profession, learn to handle it better. I think we're in a good direction, which actually leads me into my next question. So, looking back at your early career to now, would you say there is a significant shift in just overall care of mental health and all that?
Yes, I think so. Back in the early days, I remember, uh, it was pushed onto us that we were weak. That if we couldn't handle it, we were weak individuals, and also a lot of times we bottled everything up, and we really did not um, deal with it the way we should have.
Mhm.
It's hard. I tell people all the time, talk to folks. But yes, I think, with advancements in the information that's out there, whether it's social media or, it's becoming more and more accepted out there, I think that, you know, the opportunities for mental clearness is out there more now than it was then. Um, I think back, even up until it was 3 years ago. with my current career, I took a post critical incident stress seminar class. It was 3 days, and it was basically going in there with peer counselors and all, and just talking to them about, And I started out with just one incident that I had years and years ago that has always stuck with me, and I never could really talk about it,
Hmm.
and and then after I left there, I can talk about it to this day now, and it doesn't really affect me that much, because when it comes down to it, we do our job and we do it to our best of our ability, and we are there to be their lifeline in their worst days, and I think that um, you know things like that that's out there will help people, and we just need to do a little bit better job of pushing that to our
Hmm.
folks, and
Yeah,
I think this day and age, I think most people are doing that.
that's good. 'Cause like I said, I have no idea what it was like in the '80s. I was not born yet, so it's good to see that upward trend and shift in the right direction.
Absolutely.
So what would you say? You've been retired for how many years now?
uh let's see, 2015, so 10, a little
10
over.
years.
Yeah.
What do you say the hardest thing about stepping away from the job after retirement is?
uh yeah, I was talking about this not too long ago. Retirement was easy. It really was, because I knew, you know, you got to know when it's the right time, and I knew it was the right time. And you know, I think the hardest part of my career was my last 5 years, um, and that was as assistant chief, because, like I said, I had spent 12 years as a captain, and when I moved up to assistant chief, I became that white shirted guy up front that wasn't part of the crew, wasn't part of the team, and that was a very very lonely time for me. Still had a job to do, did
Yeah,
my
yeah,
job and everything else with no problem, but I think that last 5 years actually prepared me for my retirement. If I retired right out of the crew, that would have been a whole lot worse.
hmm,
So, hey, on a good side and a good note, work towards those promotions. Get that white shirt, get up there to that front office, and guess what? When you retire, you're not going to miss it that much.
yeah. Well, that's good advice. You know, based on everything I saw growing up, me personally, I don't think I'll ever aspire to be a white shirt. I saw, you said you were a captain for 12 years, and I saw the group of guys you had with you, and it was truly a family. So, me personally, I think the highest I ever want to go is captain, and which I can test for next year. But it's just a position that you truly feel like you're leading a family, and when they succeed, I feel like you feel good as a leader. So because you had a part in that and building them up. So moving on real quick, you worked with a lot of old timers back in the day. What's the best advice or piece of wisdom one of them had ever given you?
The day that you think that you know it all is the day that the job will basically sneak up and bite you in the ass. Stay curious about it, stay humble, stay safe, take care of your crew, because that's the real secret. Take care of the people that's taking care of you, and man, you can go far. And I had a lot of old folks push that into me in the years prior, and I say that to this day too. If as long as you take care of each other, you stay safe, you stay humble, man, you can go far.
That's it's. I've got one more question,
All right.
but I just want to say it's been a pleasure. I don't want to get too sentimental on here, uh, but a few weeks ago I had this idea. I'm like, I'm doing this podcast. Why the hell am I not asking my dad to be on there? I've wrote about you a lot in my book. I've talked about you a lot in videos and the positive impact you've had on me. Uh, it'll be a long time from now, but whenever you're gone, I can have this piece of
Hell yeah, it'd be a
video.
long time.
Yeah, very, very long time. But
Okay.
I can have this piece of video to look back on, and my family can have this piece of video to look back on. It's like, that's what those two individuals were like. That's what they learned from each other. And that's what their career was like. That's what they were trying to accomplish in their careers, in their personal lives, family lives, and it's just a huge opportunity. I'm so thankful that I'm able to do this. So thanks for coming on. But looking back at everything you've done, firefighting side of things, I know you've dabbled a little bit in dispatch, EMT, emergency management. What's one piece of advice you would give everyone watching right now working as a first responder?
Don't take life too serious. Um, this is coming from my heart. Don't take life too serious. Life will step up and bite you right in the butt right when you don't expect it. And if you go through life always worrying about every little thing, it will beat you down. Um, go through life being there for people. I truly believe that is our calling, is to be there for each other and to help guide each other. It's not about us or anything like that. It's about who you can reach out to and make a difference in their life. Um, somebody asked me one time, I'm notorious for stupid dad jokes on Facebook. I think that's what the old generation likes, getting on Facebook and doing stupid stuff like that. But I'm notorious about that. But somebody asked me, said, why do you go and put all of that stupid stuff on Facebook? And I said, well, the way I look at things, if I make one person laugh throughout the day by looking at some stupid meme, some stupid joke that I've decided to tell, I've made a difference in someone's life. And that's all we can do. And, like you said, trying not to get sentimental and everything else. That's what I see out of you and what you're doing right now with your platform that you're on. You're making a huge difference in several people's lives. And that's all we can do, you
Yeah,
know. Yeah.
it means a lot. Once again, thank you for coming on. Everybody listening, I hope you all have enjoyed this conversation. Maybe one day we can have a part two. There's plenty of more questions I'd love to ask them. But as always, new episodes of Just a Little Salt drops every other Monday, 7 a.m. Eastern. If you want to be on the podcast as a guest or you have somebody in mind, feel free to send me a message on thesaltyparamedic.com. Huge shout out to Jims for making this a reality, and I'll see you all on the next one.